Bible in a Year Live, Chronological Project, Week 29, Day 3, Common English Bible. Josiah's Reform. When they reported Huldah's words to the king sent a message, and all of Judah's and Jerusalem's elders gathered before him. Then the king went up to the Lord's temple, together with all the people of Judah and all the citizens of Jerusalem, the priests and the prophets, and all the people, young and old alike. There the king read out aloud all the words of the covenant scroll that had been found in the Lord's temple. The king stood beside the pillar and made a covenant with the Lord that he would follow the Lord by keeping his commandments, his laws, and his regulations with all his heart and all his being, in order to fulfill the words of this covenant that were written in this scroll. All of the people accepted the covenant. The king then commanded the high priest Hilkiah, the second order priests, and the doorkeepers to remove from the Lord's temple all the religious objects made for Baal, Asherah, and all the heavenly bodies. The king burned them outside Jerusalem in the Kidron fields and took the ashes to Bethel. He got rid of the pagan priests that the Judean kings had appointed to burn incense at the shrines in Judah's cities and the areas around Jerusalem. He did the same to those who burned incense to Baal, to the sun, to the moon, to the constellations, and to all the heavenly bodies. He removed the Asherah image from the Lord's temple, taking it to the Kidron Valley outside Jerusalem. There he burnt it, ground it to dust, and threw the dust on the public graveyard. The king tore down the shrines for the sacred workers that were in the Lord's temple, where women made women coverings for Asherah. Then Josiah brought all the priests out of Judah's cities. From Gibeah to Beersheba, he defiled the shrines where the priests had been burning incense. He also tore down the shrines at the gates at the entrance to the gate of Joshua the city's governor, which were on the left as one entered the city gate. Although the priests of these shrines didn't go up on the Lord's altar in Jerusalem, they did eat unleavened bread with their fellow priests. Josiah defiled the Topheth in the Ben Hinnom Valley, so no one could burn their children alive in honor of the god Molech. He did away with the horses that Judah's kings had dedicated to the sun. They were kept at the entrance to the Lord's temple near a room in the annex that belonged to an official named Nathan Melech. Josiah set fire to the chariots that were dedicated to the sun. The king also tore down the altars that were on the roof of Ahaz's upper story, which had been made by the Judean kings, and he did the same with the altars that Manasseh had built in the two courtyards of the Lord's temple. He broke them up there and threw their dust into the Kidron Valley. The king then defiled the shrines facing Jerusalem, south of the mountain of destruction. Solomon, the king of Israel, had built these for Ashtoreth, the monstrous Sidonian god, for Chemosh, the monstrous Moabite god, and Milcom, the detestable Ammonite god. He smashed the sacred pillars and cut down the sacred poles, filling the places where they had been with human bones. Josiah also tore down the altar that was in Bethel. That was the shrine made by Jeroboam, Nebat's son, who caused Israel to sin. Josiah tore down the altar and its shrine. He burned the shrine, grinding it into dust. Then he burned its sacred pole. When Josiah turned around, he noticed tombs on the hillside, so he ordered the bones to be taken out of the tombs. He then burned them on the altar, desecrating it. This was in agreement with the word that the Lord announced by the man of God when Jeroboam stood by the altar at the festival. Josiah then turned and saw the tomb of the man of God, whom had predicted these things. "What's this gravestone I see?" Josiah asked. The people of the city replied, "That tomb belongs to the man of God who came from Judah and announced what you would do to the altar of Bethel." "Let it be," Josiah said. "No one should disturb his bones." So they left his bones untouched, along with the bones of the prophets who came from Samaria. Moreover, Josiah removed all the shrines on the high hills that the Israelite kings had constructed throughout the cities of Samaria. These had made the Lord angry. Josiah did to them just what he did at Bethel. He actually slaughtered on those altars all the priests of the shrines who were there, and he burned human bones on them. Then Josiah returned to Jerusalem. When they reported Huldah's words to the king sent a message and gathered together all the elders of Judah and Jerusalem. Then the king went up to the Lord's temple, together with all the people of Judah and all the citizens of Jerusalem, the priests and the Levites, and all the people, young and old alike. There the king read out aloud all the words of the covenant scroll that had been found in the Lord's temple. The king stood in his place and made a covenant with the Lord that he would follow the Lord by keeping his commandments, his instructions, and his regulations with all his heart and all his being, in order to fulfill the words of the covenant that were written in this scroll. Then he made everyone found in Jerusalem and Benjamin join in a similar promise. The citizens of Jerusalem lived according to the covenant made with God, the God of their ancestors. Josiah got rid of all the detestable idols from all the region that belonged to the Israelites, and he made everyone who lived in Israel serve the Lord their God. As long as Josiah lived, they didn't turn away from following the Lord God of their ancestors. The king commanded all the people, "Celebrate a Passover to the Lord your God, following what is instructed in this scroll containing the covenant." A Passover like this hadn't been celebrated since the days when the judges judged Israel. Neither had it been celebrated during all the days of the Israelites and Judean kings. But in the 18th year of King Josiah's rule, this Passover was celebrated to the Lord in Jerusalem. Josiah burned those who consulted dead spirits and the mediums, the household gods and the worthless gods, all the monstrous things that were seen in the land of Judah and in Jerusalem. In this way, Josiah fulfilled the words of the instruction written in the scroll that the priest Hilkiah found in the Lord's temple. There's never been a king like Josiah, whether before or after him, who turned to the Lord with all his heart, all his being, and all his strength, in agreement with everything in the instruction from Moses. Even so, the Lord didn't turn away from the great rage that burned against Judah on the account of all that Manasseh had done to make him angry. The Lord said, "I'll remove Judah from my presence just as I removed Israel. I will reject this city, Jerusalem, which I chose, and this temple where I promised my name would reside." The rest of Josiah's deeds and all that he accomplished, aren't they written in the official records of Judah's kings? Josiah's Passover. Then Josiah celebrated the Lord's Passover in Jerusalem. They slaughtered the Passover lambs on the 14th day of the first month. He assigned the priests their posts, encouraging them to fulfill their responsibilities in the Lord's temple. Next, Josiah ordered the Levites, who were holy to the Lord and who instructed all Israel, "Put the holy chest in the temple built by Israel's king Solomon, David's son. You don't need to carry it around on your shoulders anymore. Now, serve the Lord your God and his people, Israel. Organize yourselves by families according to your divisions, as directed by Israel's king David and his son Solomon. Stand in the sanctuary according to the family divisions of your relatives, the lay people, so that there can be Levites for each family division. Slaughter the Passover lambs and prepare the holy sacrifices for your relatives in order to celebrate according to the Lord's word through Moses." On behalf of the lay people, Josiah donated from his personal holdings 30,000 lambs and young goats and 3,000 bulls, all for the Passover offerings. His officials also provided spontaneous gift offerings for the people, the priests, and the Levites. Hilkiah, Zechariah, and Jehiel, the ones in charge of God's temple, gave 2,600 Passover lambs and 3,000 bulls for the priests. Conaniah and his brothers Shemaiah and Nethanel, along with Hashabiah, Jael, and Jozabad, the leaders of the Levites, provided the Levites with 5,000 lambs and 500 bulls as Passover sacrifices. When everything was ready, the priests and the Levites took their places as the king had ordered. Then they slaughtered the Passover lambs, and the priests splashed the blood where the Levites skinned the animals. Next, they divided the entirely burned offerings among the lay people by their families to sacrifice to the Lord as written in the scroll from Moses, and they did the same with the bulls. They roasted the Passover lambs in the fire as instructed, cooked the holy offerings in pots, kettles, and pans, and brought them quickly to all the lay people. Next, they prepared food for themselves and for the priests. Since the priests, Aaron's descendants, were busy offering up the entirely burned offerings and fat pieces until nighttime, the Levites prepared food for themselves and for the priests, Aaron's descendants. The Asaphite singers also remained at their stations as ordered by David, Asaph, Heman, and the king's seer Jeduthun, as did the guards at the various gates. They didn't need to leave their tasks because their fellow Levites prepared food for them. So, on that day, all of the Lord's service was prepared for celebrating Passover and offering up entirely burnt offerings on the Lord's altar, just as King Josiah had ordered. The Israelites who were present celebrated the Passover at that time and observed the festival of unleavened bread for 7 days. Not since the days of the prophet Samuel had such a Passover been celebrated in Israel, and no other king of Israel had celebrated a Passover like the one Josiah celebrated with the priests, the Levites, all the people of Judah and Israel who were present, and the residents of Jerusalem. This Passover was celebrated in the 18th year of Josiah's reign. An oracle about Nineveh, the scroll containing the vision of Nahum the Elkoshite. Power of the Creator. The Lord is a jealous and vengeful God. The Lord is vengeful and strong in wrath. The Lord is vengeful against his foes. He rages against his enemies. The Lord is very patient, but great in power. The Lord punishes. His way is in whirlwind and storm. Clouds are the dust of his feet. He can blast the sea and make it dry up. He can dry up all the rivers. Bashan and Carmel wither. The bud of Lebanon withers. The mountains quake because of him. The hills melt away. The earth heaves before him, the world and all who dwell in it. Who can stand before his indignation? Who can confront the heat of his fury? His wrath pours out like fire. The rocks are shattered because of him. The Lord is good, a haven in a day of distress. He acknowledges those who take refuge in him. With a rushing flood, he will utterly destroy her place and pursue his enemies into darkness. A challenge to God's enemies. What are you plotting against the Lord? He is one who can annihilate. Distress will not arise twice. They are tangled up like thorns, like drunkards in their cups. They are consumed like stubble that is entirely dried up. From you goes out one who plots evil against the Lord, a worthless counselor. Reassurance for God's people. The Lord proclaims, though once they were a healthy and numerous force, they have been cut off and have disappeared. I have afflicted you. I won't afflict you further, Zion. No, I will break off his yoke from you and tear off your chains. Assyria's king's future doom. The Lord has commanded concerning you, you will have no children to carry on your name. I will remove carved idol and cast image from the house of your gods. I will make your grave, for you are worthless. Look on the mountains, the feet of a messenger who announces peace. Celebrate your festivals, Judah. Fulfill your solemn promises. The worthless one will never again invade you. He has been completely cut off. A city under attack. A scatterer has come up against you. Guard the ramparts. Watch the road. Protect your groin. Save your strength. The Lord will destroy the pride of Jacob, indeed the pride of Israel, because ravagers have destroyed them and spoiled their branches. The shields of his warriors are red. His soldiers are dressed in crimson. The ironwork of the chariots flashes like fire on the day he has prepared. The horses quiver. The chariots race wildly through the streets. They rush back and forth through the squares. They look like flaming torches. They dart like bolts of lightning. He musters his officers. They stumble as they press forward. They hurry to the city wall, and the portable shield is set up. The gates of the rivers are opened. The palace melts. It is decreed. She is sent into exile, carried away, while her female servants moan like doves, beating their breasts. Nineveh has been like a pool of water. Such are its waters, and others are fleeing. Stop! Stop! But no one can turn them back. Plunder silver, plunder gold. There is no end to the supplies, an abundance of precious objects. Destruction and devastation, the city is laid waste. The heart grows faint and knees buckle. There is anguish in every groin, and all the faces grow pale. Cruel Nineveh will be destroyed. Where is the lion's den, the meadow of the young lions? where lion, lionesses, even lion cub go about with no one to terrify them. The lion has torn enough prey for his cubs and strangled enough for his lioness. He has filled his lairs with prey, his dens with torn flesh. Look, I am against you, proclaims the Lord of the heavenly forces. I will burn your chariots in smoke. The sword will devour your young lions. I will cut off your prey from the earth. The voice of your messengers will never again be heard. Doom, city of bloodshed, all deceit, full of plunder, prey cannot get away. Crackling whip and rumbling wheel, galloping horse and careening chariot, charging cavalry, flashing sword and glittering spear, countless slain, masses of corpses, endless dead bodies, they stumble over their dead bodies. Because of the many whorings of the whore, the lovely graces of the mistress of sorceries, the one who sells nations by means of her whorings, and peoples by means of her sorceries. Look, I am against you, proclaims the Lord of heavenly forces. I will lift your skirts over your face. I will show nations your nakedness, and kingdoms your dishonor. I will throw disgusting things at you. I will treat you with contempt and make you a spectacle. Then all who look at you will recoil from you and say, Nineveh has been devastated. Who will lament for her? Where could I possibly seek comforters for you? Are you better than Thebes, situated by the Nile? Water surrounded her, whose fortress is sea and whose city wall is water? Cush and Egypt constituted her strength without limit. Put and the Libyans were her help. Yet even she was destined for exile. She went into captivity. Indeed, her infants were dashed to pieces at the head of every street. They cast lots for her officials. All of her powerful citizens were bound in chains. Yes, even you will become drunk. You will have to hide. Even you will have to seek refuge from the enemy. All your fortifications are fig trees with ripe fruit. When the trees are shaken, the fruit falls into the mouth of the eater. Look, your people are women in your midst. The gates of your land have been flung wide open to your enemies. Fire consumes the bars of your gates. Draw water for yourself to prepare for siege. Strengthen your fortifications. Tread the clay. Trample the mortar. Grab the brick mold. Fire will consume you there. The sword will cut you down. Like the locust, it will consume you. Multiply like the locust. Multiply like the grasshopper. You boasted more traders than the heavens have stars. The locust shed its skin and flies away. Your guards are like grasshoppers, your marshals like swarms of cicadas. The encamped are stone fences on the chilly day. When the sun rises, they take flight. No one knows where they have gone. Your shepherds have fallen asleep, king of Assyria. Your officials are lying down. Your people are scattered across the mountains. There is no one to gather them. There is no remedy for your injury. Your wound is grievous. All who hear the news about you clap their hands over you. Who has not suffered from your continual cruelty?